Oh, that was a good clap right there.
All right, good when you're ready.
Today we're with Dwayne Hagen. Oh my God. I messed that up completely. I didn't want to mess that. Hagen. Yep. Hagen, I'm terrible. All right. Hey everybody, this is Kane Lewis with Oaths. Hey everybody, this is Kane Lewis with OSU Extension. Today we're having another episode of Life on the Farm in Scioto County. Today we're with Dwayne Hagen, and we're with Hagen Family Farms. This farm was created in 1870, and we're going to talk about the ins and outs of what has happened throughout that farm and how he is back here on the farm today. Stay tuned and hope you like it. Hey everybody, my name is Kane Lewis and I'm with OSU Extension. I'm here with Dwayne Hagen and we're at Hagen Family Farms. We're going to talk about it, just swap some stories, and hope you guys like it, so stay tuned. So, Dwayne, let's talk about where we're at, how you got here, and just the story about your farm. So let's take it all the way back. So we are on the original homestead, right?
Yes. My dad grew up here. My great-grandfather bought this back in 1870.
1870.
Whenever he came from Germany.
Yes, sir.
And of course, then my grandfather was born and raised here. Then my dad was born and raised here. And I was hauling coal at the time in 1989. And Dad came to me and he said, "Would you be interested in the farm?" And I was like, "Dad, I just built this house," which is a house over at Webster. I've sold now, but I said, "Dad just bought this house, or just had this house built, and got 2 kids to raise." I said, "I don't have any extra money at all." So I said, "I better not." He said, "Well, you can get it for $40,000." I said, "I'd love to, but
don't have
just can't swing it right now." I said, "Yes, if you don't want it," he said, my brother Floyd, which is my uncle,
right?
He said he's going to take it. I said, "I always have to do that."
Right.
And yeah, I wanted it, but I just couldn't swing it.
And that's, something that we see with a lot of family farms. Land's expensive at the end of the day, and that's where you see a lot of, brokenness up. So I think it's really cool that even after you couldn't get it, you're back on it. So,
right. So anyway.
So your Uncle
Floyd
got it. Okay.
So then he passed away and passed on to his son.
Okay.
Jared. And so Jared had it for a while, and then
And that was all 80 acres?
Yes, that was still all 80 acres.
Okay.
Yeah. And anyway, he decided he'd sell it, so he sold it to Swick, and so Swick had him a home built on it up and used a separate driveway from the original farm. And so 5 or 6 years passed, and I went to Swick and asked him if he'd be interested in selling me back the main part of the farm, which consists of the old milk house, the chicken house, barns, equipment sheds, and the garage and farmhouse. Because growing up, I came out to stay with my mamaw pretty often, and I had a lot of good memories out here.
Right.
Whenever I bought this back, it's been about 13 years ago now that I bought this, and a buddy of mine I came up to him, was talking. In fact, he's down at church. He said, and he used to come home with me from church whenever I was a teenager.
Right.
He'd come home from church with me, and we'd come out here and eat.
Yeah.
And he reminded me.
You always got to go to Mamaw's house
for Sunday dinner, right?
Yeah.
And he told me then. He said, He said, I want to get the recipe to them mashed potatoes. Those are the best mashed potatoes I've ever eaten in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it was probably butter she made and milk, everything, all that.
I'm sure it was. Yeah. And the best eating I've ever eaten has come out of that house.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, it's really I just had a lot of good memories.
Right.
From out here, and I wanted, so anyway, he priced it to me, and he priced it 20 acres, so he priced it quite a bit too high. I got him down some.
Yeah.
I still paid too much for it. But it was worth more to me than it was
sentimental value.
Else. Exactly. Exactly.
You know.
So, and since then, that trailer across the road there came empty. It's 1680, and so I bought it off of him, and so it originally went with two. That was always our tobacco base over there.
Oh, really?
We grew the tobacco.
So kind of like this whole holler,
right?
was, part of the farm,
right?
Type of deal. That's
right.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we. I can remember, and in his field here, I'd always come out and plow it. From my Uncle June, he had a dairy. He had a dairy here, and he got his arm caught in an elevator. I was probably 14, maybe 15, but I'd come out and milk for him, through the summer. And I think he kind of got used to that. He let me go ahead and get milk all the time. And of course, other things come up, and I had to quit. There's a lot of times I wished I'd
stayed at it.
Yeah, he didn't have a big dairy, but he had a dairy, and I enjoyed that.
Right.
I enjoyed the milk and the cows. So just had a lot of good memories here.
And I think that's when most of the memories are created, is when you're younger. I always remember myself being out on the farm with Dad, and when I was younger, especially those are when those memories are formed. So that's definitely probably a time where you were like, if ever I get a chance, I want to go back. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because no one would ever know that you had to plow that field and go milk cows right there beside you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Exactly. Somebody could go tear down the old, the old barn and just be done with it.
Right.
But to you, that's special, and that's
exactly. And even now, my wife, there's the old milk house. We had a milk parlor up in the barn, and then we carried the milk down to the milk house, and that's where we had the cooler, and that's where we done all the washing of everything.
Right. Yeah.
And we just dumped the big pails of milk into the cooler, and that's just the way. Now I see they got glass pipelines that go into it. But back in those days, then they got pretty strict on the way you do that. Milking. And so anyway, he had to build a parlor attached to the milk house, so, which he did. Which the milk was the cow's about 3 foot up up above you from where you was walking, and we milked 3 cows at a time.
Right. Yeah.
And bring them in, and I like I say, just a lot of good memories of the farm. Glad to come back. And so anyway, whenever I come out, whenever I bought it, and I thought, well, I'll get some cows, but. I had 9, and
9 cows.
I had 9 cows. Yeah.
Yep.
And I asked an old guy I was buying a horse off of. I said, I'm just getting into this. I said, you got any advice? He said, my advice, my best advice would be to get out of it. he said one thing about a horse or any animal, he said, if it can happen, it will.
Yep. That's exactly it.
That's just about the way it is.
That's farming.
Yeah. That's just the way it is. That's right.
Now you're a true farmer because you know that.
Yeah.
Man, I'm really glad that you had us out here today. Where we're sitting at right now is in front of the new house that you built, that your family built.
Right.
I mean, the whole thing from, what was it,
1870.
1870.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're a stone's throw. From
right.
You know what I mean?
And we had kicked around an idea of tearing it down and putting a house there, but just too many memories there, you know, for me.
Yeah, just every morning you get to wake up and you get to remember going to Mammal's house on Sunday evenings. You know what I mean?
And just like behind us here is the old milk house with the milk parlor still. I remember, I was 14 or 15 probably. I remember mixing the concrete that's in the floor of that. I'd shovel sand and concrete and put the water to it. I remember doing that. And so the wife said, we ought to tear that down, and that way we can see the corral, the barnyard.
Right,
I'm like, not yet.
It's just in your blood. You remember those feelings. And
exactly.
if no one grew up here, they wouldn't know.
Right, and it means nothing else to anybody but me, because my uncle and the other guy that was helping, there's 3 of us doing it, and they're going. I'm the only one that it means anything to.
Exactly.
But I remember mixing the concrete.
And you'll pass
wheeling it in.
And so let's talk about your family aspect. So your daughter doesn't live on the old homestead, but she lives right next door. So you was able to get
buy some more property. Yes. So I bought property, and she wanted to build a house, and so there was a fantastic spot over there for a house, and so that's where she chose to build it.
So what does it mean to you to not only have your daughter around, but your granddaughter around, to where any time of the day she can come right through the trail, through the woods, and see your papa, see your grandpa,
and to me that makes life worth living. It does. Yeah. See, we bought this like 13 years ago, the farm.
Right.
But and at that time, I thought, man, I'd like to live, because when you cross the creek down there, it's just, to me, it was just a peaceful feeling, you know.
Right.
And
well, it's like when you turn on that gravel road, I'm home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
When you look up here and you see the old house and the old barn, I'm home.
Exactly.
And it's cool to see the additions that you've made to it. You know what I mean, as well, with with the house and with your daughter and everything. You're making it your own.
Right.
And a lot of people can't. They take over their family farms, but you had to buy yours back, which is even special, because you had to. At the time, you didn't have the money, but you was able to work hard enough in life. And let's talk about what you did growing up and where what you did as work to get you to here. So.
Whenever I growing up, I was always, Dad was a horse trader, so I was always, doing something with him, with either hauling them to a sale or going and getting some, or always around the cattle, growing up, and then. When I got out of school, I started into Shawnee for about a year, but I decided I didn't need that. I've second thought that a few times since then, but that's just the way I felt at the time.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, I got in. My uncle, which lived in that house, was Vinton McCoy. He married my dad's sister, and they lived there with my mama, Hagen.
Okay, yeah.
And so he had clay mines over in Kentucky, over in there was one East Tiger mine I remember going to at Beachy Creek.
Okay.
They had mines there. Anyway, then by the time I got old enough to drive, he had a mine out in Stockdale, Ohio. So I knew I had plenty of work, because Dad. We had a grocery store. I could work at that, or I could drive truck for him, and I'd done both. I drove a truck through the day and the grocery store the evening. And so anyway, I drove truck. Anyway, after he passed away, I bought that truck that I was driving off of my aunt. And so I just kept driving, and got leased on up to Waterloo Coal, and so I'd haul coal out of the pit out up to the wash processor. And done that for a while. Then I decided I wanted a tractor trailer, so I had a couple tractor trailers. I had flatbeds on them, hauling steel. And but then I went back to coal buckets, and so in 1989, that's when this was for sale. But I had just built a new house, had 2 kids to raise, and anyway. I always told people there was too much month at the end of the money. With trucking, the money would run out before the month.
I figured that out. Real quick.
So Mom said, well, there's plenty room in the insurance industry, and she had started working for Nationwide in 1949. She graduated in 49. and caught a bus to Columbus and put her application in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And Nationwide Insurance hired her.
Yeah.
And so in '89 she said there's plenty of room with the insurance. I said, all right. So I went and took my property and casualty license, my life and health license, and got past both of them and started selling insurance.
Yep.
So, and I enjoyed working with Mom.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoyed, but in the back of my mind, I thought, when I get out of this insurance, I want to get back to trucking to some degree, because it's like a paid holiday to me, you know,
right,
paid vacation.
It didn't bother you to do it.
Right. I enjoyed doing it, and you got to see a lot.
Right.
You know? So anyway, that brings us to. After I got done with the insurance, I always thought, well, I hope I have my health well enough to still be able to do something back with the trucks. And so anyway, I did. A buddy of mine, he had a log yard up here. He needed somebody to haul logs for him. And so I bought a truck and bought a log trailer, and I started hauling logs. We got to be too busy for us, so I put a driver in that truck, and I bought another truck, and I started driving it. But,
so you retired to work your butt off, to retire again to still work.
Yeah. But you know, my mom was 83 years old when she went in the hospital, and she passed away at 83. But she worked the day before she went in the hospital, and you know, I mean, it wasn't like it was a real. She worked for me, and that gave her a place of feeling needed.
Right.
And she was needed.
And it gave her something to do.
Right.
I've always been told, you know, once you stop or quit, you die. I mean, you just start slowly dying. So.
Yeah. So that's, and my dad was the same way. I mean, he didn't have a regular job, but he was a horse trader, and he'd buy property and sell it, and anything and everything.
Right.
And right up till when he passed away at 79. So that's my intentions, to keep on going till I can't go no more.
Tick.
Yeah. And out there where I work, they said, "How long are you gonna work?" I said, "Until as long as I got my health, I'll be coming back."
Well, it gives you something to do during the day. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's one thing, even with the farm, it gives you something to do.
That's exactly right.
Always gives you a headache at least.
Oh yeah. Now, I had an old Farmall H that I had bought 15 years ago. I was always going to be a project,
right,
you know, winter project.
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
Yeah, that never did happen. So this spring, I decided it's time to change the scenery. So I sold it. I mean, I did tear the motor, but the motor was stuck when I bought it, and so I got it tore apart with a sledgehammer, and I did get it rebuilt, but never to get it back together.
Yeah.
So it was time to change it. But I found out that projects are cheap and easy to find.
Oh yeah.
So whenever the time comes, I'll get another project.
And that's one thing I hear of everyone who I've talked to, or you know, ever been on the farm with. They're happy to be there. Yeah. At the end of the day, they're so happy that, you know, I mean, how many people do you think can say, I'm living on the same property that was 1870 that's been in my family. You know what I mean? Exactly. There's been some hurdles that you've had to jump through. But you know, you kept the course, and you kept going. And I cannot thank you enough for having me out here. I'm really glad that we met that day.
I am too.
And
it was on a Friday. I have Fridays off. Yep. I went to the eye doctor in Portsmouth, and I had pulled 2 weeds up to take with me. One of them was at the Shoemate. Yep. And that kind of a woody like stem. Yes. I didn't know about it, so I took it with me. And then that other one, that white with the flower top.
Yeah, poison hemlock.
I brought that with me, and so I called the courthouse, and I for the extension. And the lady said, "Well, they're painting the basement, and we're not in today. We're working out of the house." I said, "Okay." So she said, "Could you send me pictures of what you've got?" I said, "Sure." So I took pictures, sent them to you anyway, and you coming back, and that's how we got to meet. So
and then we got out here, and we figured out the situation, figured out the problem, and then we talked for about 4.5 hours. We solved. So how many world problems did we solve?
Several.
Yeah.
Several.
I think
I can't count them exactly, but several.
Several, exactly. And it's, you know, and it's people like Dwayne here that makes farming. You know, he has problems, but you just take the problems with, you know, a steady head, you know, what's the solution? You just got to find the next solution. If, you know, with the horse or with the cow, you know, you have to find, okay, what happened? What are we going to do to solve this? And I think it's a special thing to know that the love for the land that you have.
Yes.
That's the main thing. And the way you take care of this ground, and no one can appreciate it more than you. And it's just a beautiful thing.
And you know, another thing, there's still a disc over a hole down there, and I was told, now of course I wasn't here, but stagecoaches from Jackson to Webster, you know, they would always stop there, you know, before they hit that hill or after they come off the hill. The stagecoaches would always, this would be a place that they would stop, let the horse rest a little bit and drink.
Really?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
and the story goes around too. Jesse James spent a night here.
No way.
He did. They hit him out. I don't know why. I'm sure they wasn't criminals, but for some reason they hit him out for a couple of days. And there's supposed to be a knife around here someplace that's supposed to be still in circulation that he gave him.
That is awesome. It's been a pleasure, man. Oh, it really has. I'm so glad.
Pleasure on this end too.
Yeah.
It certainly has.
And we'll definitely keep in touch. If you like this video today, please reach out to me or anyone at OSU Extension, and I'd love to come out to the farm, share stories, and just get to know more about Scioto County. Thank you.